What's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 34 of the Momo Challenge. Only kidding, kids. It's the Victory of Vices podcast. Put the knives down. Don't kill each other. Yeah, we're back, and it's good to be back. Last week I said we would be talking about FA Cup fixtures and whatnot. My bad. I got my dates wrong.
You were wrong.
Oh, I was all the way wrong. So yeah, we've got a full Premier League roundup and more, because there's been plenty going on in the world around us. Some weird, some wonderful. We'll start with the weird. We don't usually cover Championship football. Jack Grealish.
Yes.
Give me your opinion, Becky, on that situation. And yeah, I don't even know what to say.
I had to physically stop what I was doing.
Yeah.
I wasn't watching the game at the time. I was just scrolling through Twitter.
Yeah, I was
on the go. And I literally paused exactly what I was doing because I saw the clip, when it gives you like a little highlight through on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I went, whoa, I need to stop. I stopped dead. I was like, hang on a second, I need to watch this. I'm just speechless. Absolutely speechless.
What a shit punch, might I add, by the way.
Oh, it was an awful punch. At first, I was like, has he just knocked him over? And then when I watched it back, and I was like, no, he has actually punched him. I tried to punch him. It's a disgusting act, and there's no place for that in not just football, in any sport whatsoever.
I don't like violence in general. Yeah. I'm a non-violent person. But I'm of the opinion that if you are going to hit someone, fucking do it properly.
Yeah, I understand that.
What I witnessed was one of the worst punches ever. And that 10-yard dash as well, the fat fuck. Yeah. You see how slow he was across the first 10 yards?
He's running in treacle.
Jesus Christ almighty. I get there's a rivalry, right? Birmingham Villa, second City derby, big rivalry. What the fuck possessed a man with kids, right? And I don't know if he has a job, because certain reports say he's unemployed, others say, he is employed. He looks very unemployable, might I add. I don't get what possesses a man to do that.
The problem is, right, I have, I'd like to think, a pretty good sense of humour. I can laugh at most things, same as yourself. I see the humour in a lot of things. When people cross over, run on the pitch, streakers, when they run around and they're chased by stewards, I can laugh at that. I can deal with that. I can find the funny side of that.
I think we'll all agree with that.
Yeah. It's when you cross the line, and yes, it was a shit punch, but it's the intention that is the issue. And the fact that he was allowed, so now that will bring us into another part of it in a second, but the fact
I already know where you're going with this next part. I already know.
The fact that he was so easily allowed to just get on the pitch and approach Jack Grealish and do what he did is an issue in itself.
Yeah, it's horrendous. This next part kind of sad. Did you see the lad on Twitter? I don't know the lad's name that was posting.
Yeah, I did.
Basically, for those of you who didn't see it, it's difficult to go into too much depth because I don't want to give this guy, I don't want to give him the celebrity that he craves.
Just said person.
But said person was on Twitter, and he's a Birmingham fan, and he was posting pictures of Jack Grealish's dead brother's grave.
Yeah.
And this kid now, Keelan Grealish, died when he was less than a year old. Completely innocent child. Nothing to do with an Aston Villa Birmingham rivalry. Nothing to do with anything, bro. And to be posting pictures of his grave and mocking his death and using it to insult Jack Grealish. That's why I fucking hate social media sometimes. I fucking despise stuff like that.
Yeah.
That little prick as well. That thinks he can hide behind a computer screen.
Oh, he's just a complete and utter keyboard warrior. The same thing came up with Emiliano Sala.
Yeah.
Same thing with Rio Ferdinand.
Facts.
And his wife that passed. It's disgusting. And like you say, we don't want to give any real time on this episode or social media for the person that did that. But it is worth highlighting how sick that is. I wanted to get your opinion as well, because somebody mentioned me today, so just tying it back around a bit more to the incident itself.
Yeah.
Somebody, a work colleague of mine, mentioned today, they said, that shouldn't be happening. There's stewards there. There's no way that they should be allowing him to get on the pitch. First thing I said is that, be careful, there's a difference between a steward and a security guard, right?
Very big difference. Right. I have a friend who's a steward as well. Shout out to Rob as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, huge, bit different ball game, bro. Yeah. These aren't bouncers.
No, not at all.
No,
it's
not
like
at all.
Your job description as a steward is to just sort of oversee direct, make sure that that things are going as they should be. There's nothing, I believe, in a job description of a steward that says that you have to exert any sort of violence or you have to get physical and things like that. Because when you've got a fan that, I don't know this for definite, but I imagine he was under the influence of alcohol.
He's under the influence of being a dipshit.
And that as well.
Anything.
So I can't say that for fact, but, I wouldn't bet against it. When you've got a fan that's running at you, or in some cases multiple fans, and you're a steward, when they're running at you, you could think this could get physical very quickly.
Yeah.
Is it my job as a steward to be running headfirst into that?
Absolutely not.
It's not, is it?
No,
there's police officers there for a reason. When the stewards then went onto the pitch, once a few of the players got a hold of him and sort of marshalled him off, they threw him straight into the hands of a police officer, and it becomes a police matter. So for people who are on social media and in person sort of saying, oh, that shouldn't be happening, the stewards not doing their jobs properly, don't ever go to stewards, because there's only a certain
they can only take so much.
They can do.
Stewards, their job is to check tickets. Their job is to tell you to sit down when you're standing up. Another safety precaution.
Basics.
And these are regular people. Some of them do it part-time alongside other jobs.
I think some even might even volunteer to do it as well.
It's not their job to be dealing with shit like that. And I have sometimes issues with police officers, not that I'm a criminal, but it's sometimes law itself. And I do feel sorry for some of them as well, because what if he had a knife? And what if he ran on the pitch and tried to stab someone? Who's going to stop him?
And I'm kind of the belief that if there's a fan there, or a group of fans that want to run on the pitch, I do believe in many cases there's not a lot you can do about it, because what are you going to do? Get 10,000 police officers? It's not going to happen, is it?
Most clubs are struggling to afford the police officers now.
That's the thing. You can have 10, 20, 50. They're still vastly outnumbered by that stand.
Oh, bro, it's shocking.
If there's enough people within that stand that want to make a run at that pitch, then they're going on the pitch. 100%.
Yeah.
Now, the gentleman that did it, like he said, 14 weeks in prison.
Yeah, that's the quickest jail sentencing I may have ever seen in my life.
What a turnaround.
Yeah, that's a very quick turnaround for the British justice
system. There's players that can't even appeal a red card that quickly.
Yeah. Like he went out to us Sunday morning, and Monday evening he's on the West Wing getting bummed in the cell.
Dropping the soap.
Yeah.
But there's been a few things mentioned about it. There's been people that have said that they should ban alcohol at football matches. Because a lot of it stems from that. Obviously, it's got
they only drink at half time anyway. So.
Yeah. There's people that have said that the club should have a points deduction. Which the point that they put forward for that was,
that's harsh. I think that's harsh on Birmingham.
The way they put it across was that if or if there is a ruling in place that says if an incident like that occurs, then your club, the one that you seem to be so passionate about, will receive 5 or 10 whatever points deduction. Then that could act as a deterrent. If you're a fan, you think, well, I'm going to be Billy Big Balls and I'm going to go run on and do this because I'm going to get my 5 minutes of fame. But if they know that their team they love so much is going to get docked 10 points, would they still do it?
I don't know. It's interesting because you may only get a fan that goes to one game and he runs on that pitch. And like I said, he's only been to 60 minutes of football the whole season. And then the Birmingham fans that go home and away every week, that desperately want their team to win and succeed, they suffer, and I don't want that.
Because I also think as well there was an incident that wasn't anywhere near as bad, but the United Arsenal game,
the Smalling incident.
A fan sort of run on and sort of wound Smalling up a little bit.
Give him a push,
Now, I don't think if the Jack Grealish incident hadn't have happened, I don't think that happens.
Yeah, no, it's fair show. It's a copycat incident.
I think someone thought that looked fun, or that that he got a little bit of fame and his face is over the news and social media. I'm going to do that, So I just don't want other incidents to sort of stem from that people seeing this now, and it doesn't help the Birmingham fans cheering as well.
Do you know, as this, it's difficult, right? Because again, a lot of people just get caught up in the moment, and I'm sure most of them don't condone what happened, but football fans have to police each other almost, if that makes sense, and they have to be like, it's difficult because a lot of these are just lads that want to go out and have fun, right? And boys will be boys, okay, I get it, right? And some people may disagree with that, but they do have a responsibility to say, hang on a minute now, don't be a dickhead. Like, we're all here to have some fun, but don't overstep the line and police each other.
And I also think as well that culturally, English football, it's behind a lot of other countries.
I'd agree with that 100%.
And there's still a massive sense of hooliganism that exists, because me and Reece we're lucky enough to go to Germany last year. We're going back next month to watch some more German football. and we went to watch Bayer Leverkusen go against Dortmund. So Dortmund were home. We couldn't get tickets for the Dortmund end, so we went to the Leverkusen the away end.
I remember you saying,
lucky enough to get tickets. Sat in the away stand with all the Leverkusen ultras, who were crazy as fuck. Right?
They're mad. They're a different breed.
There was a guy down the bottom. He had a massive megaphone. He didn't even see most of the game. He was just riling up his fans. They were going mental. There was a cage separating the Dortmund and Leverkusen fans, and they were at it, shouting, screaming, throwing beers at each other. But not once did anybody ever come close to thinking that they could step on that football pitch.
Yeah,
not even.
It's a different level of respect, bro. It's a different level of respect.
They would have done probably anything to each other within that stand, but they wouldn't even think twice about trying to go on the pitch and do anything to the players.
Yeah, cultural differences. Bro.
Massive cultural difference.
There's a big cultural difference. I find the atmosphere, just going back to that, is like you said, it's a non-violent approach, but the atmosphere is still better, as weird as that
100%.
sounds, because the English fans, they want to kill each other sometimes, but the atmosphere is garbage in there.
The thing as well that I couldn't quite believe was that, in a big-ish football match in the Premier League, even the Championship, even sides that are relatively close together, the away end has to stay. They let the home fans go out first, and the away fans go afterwards to avoid any violence. No matter what the rivalry in the Bundesliga or Bundesliga 2, as soon as that final whistle goes, everybody leaves at the same time.
That's crazy to me.
And then you walk out the tunnel, there's Dortmund shirts, Leverkusen shirts, you just pass each other by, not a problem.
No bother. That's how it should be, bro. I'm telling you.
During that 90 minutes, there's way more passion than I see in most Premier League games that I've gone to watch. The atmosphere is better, but afterwards they shake hands, and that is the end of it.
Yeah, I have a lot of time for that.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully this, the instance of this weekend will just sort of go under the radar now, and that will be it. So I just hope there's nobody out there that thinks that they can see that and try and replicate it again.
Interesting that happened. A lot of people have asked me where the name of the podcast came from. So they said, where did you get the name Victory and Vices? So initially we want a brand name that's quite cool and edgy and stands out, because we're cool and edgy and we stand out, obviously. That's a fair shout, of course. But the name itself derives from... I'll break it down into two parts, right? So you have the victory aspect. Now, we discussed this, me and Becky, many a time. People use football for a moral victory, so to speak. So your average football fan will work all the way throughout the week. They live for Saturday to go and watch their team. When their team wins, they win. They don't get nothing for it. They don't get any money. They don't get any sort of physical anything, really, other than this emotional attachment where for that moment in time, for that week, they've won. They could have lost all week, taken a loss on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Come the Saturday, when their team wins, they win. That's how it is.
And you can say that, but they always use the terms we, us.
Yeah.
They have no affiliation with the football club. They don't
exactly.
by them, but it's always we and us.
So the victory side of things is football fans use football for a moral victory, an emotional victory, so to speak. And then football, as we've seen for a lot of people, is their main vice. Football, whether it's replica shirts, away days, tickets, memorabilia, X, Y, or Z. People spend their time and money on football constantly. Like football, following Arsenal, for example, now, home and away, season ticket, there are cheaper drug habits than following Arsenal. Like, it's fucking unbelievable. You talk about Bundesliga prices. They're, very affordable, flexible, designed for people like you and me. Premier League football especially is like a vice for people, because the amount of money they spend in it is fucking mad. Like, it's mental when you think of the amount of money people spend. I went to watch Swansea Wigan a while back. That was £35. Bro, it was shit. Yeah. And salute to all the Swansea fans that go week in, week out and pay that type of money. Yeah. I don't necessarily do it because I don't have the time every weekend. But again, that's where the name comes from, victory and vices. People use that victory for a moral victory, and football is ultimately their vice. So that's the breakdown of where the name has come from. So everyone can stop asking me now as well. Yeah. But that's it. But yeah, that's our take on the Jack Grealish thing. Yeah. We have a man there who used football, his victory, and his vice to try and get one up on Jack Grealish. Why, I don't know, because Jack Grealish actually comes across as a genuinely lovely fucking guy. I mean, he conducted himself so well afterwards as well. Oh,
and then
different level of maturity that was, by the way.
You talk about whether you believe in it or not. You talk about karma. The fact he goes on to net the winner. You couldn't write it. couldn't write it any better.
Well, I tell you what, God bless him, man. If his brother was looking down on him that day to get some type of revenge, bro, let me tell you.
It was interesting as well. I don't know if you saw it. You probably did, to see Raheem Sterling reply to him on Twitter as well.
Yeah, another guy who gets a shit ton of abuse for no reason.
For some different reasons. Sterling, as you said, gets bad press, doesn't deserve it. But I think that because of what he's gone through, and the things that have happened to him on and off the football pitch, it was a nice touch for him to sort of...
Yeah, it was. It was a lovely touch from Raheem,
well done.
It was really nice.
You handled it really well, and great job of getting the winner as well. So it was nice to see that.
No, it was. It was very nice. The big news there of the weekend was Grealish. The big news today is Zidane is back at Madrid. Again, we usually save the European stuff till the end, but it's interesting because it ties in a little bit with what we're going to do next. Zizou gone back to Madrid. They say never go back to an ex. They do. He has left a hero and he's rejoining as a saviour. I think it's very smart from Zidane, and a lot of people, let us know your opinion on it as well, because it's an interesting debate, the Zidane Real Madrid thing, because what they've basically done is they've gone to him, okay, so you've won us, was it four Champions Leagues?
Three Champions
Leagues,
right?
Back,
wasn't it?
Well, I think it's 3 and 4 seasons or something like that. So Zidane wins 3 Champions Leagues, and then he says to Real Madrid, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z in the summer. And Real Madrid say, no, you're not doing that. So he says, you know what, I'm going to go. So Zidane goes as a hero, goes, you know what, let's see how you do without me. Madrid absolutely plummet, and they come begging for him back. And they say, you can have whatever you want. And that whatever you want will be Eden Hazard in the summer. And I don't want to see Hazard go from the Premier League because I love him, and I'm not entirely sure what channel La Liga is going to be on next season. But Zidane is going to get what he wants. I thought Mourinho might be the guy to go back.
There was talk of it.
But Mourinho he left on really bad terms.
Yeah.
The only person that's really going to suffer is Bale, because Bale and Zidane do not get on at all. They really dislike each other to the point where Bale now is going to have to move in the summer. And I know you want him back at United. I don't Bale anywhere near Manchester United. I love him. I think he's a great ambassador for Welsh football. But Gareth Bale is not.
I never said he would be my first choice. What I said was I would take him over Sanchez.
That's fine. But that I agree with. That's fine. Yeah, there's video evidence of that as well.
To be fair though, Gareth Bale is not in the best books anyway, with Madrid or the fans. So I don't think his case is going to be any much worse or better.
The whole Bale situation intrigues me because you've got a guy there who was supposed to be Ronaldo's replacement, and Zidane, for whatever reason, never fully rated him. Yeah. And Zidane going back to Madrid now, I mean, when we look at the players he could get, there's talk of Hazard, there's talk of Eriksen, potentially Harry Kane. I mean, that's not to say Kane would go, but if Spurs have a trophyless season and let's say don't win the Champions League and don't get in the Champions League again, all of a sudden Zidane goes, well, Benzema's knocking on. You want to come to Madrid?
Yeah, and he would go as well. 100%.
And he would go. Yeah. Neymar as well. Now there's talk of Neymar going to Real Madrid. Yeah. They want a statement signing. This summer is going to be hectic. We'll be covering it all just because the season ends. We won't be going anywhere. We'll have other topics we're going to bring up. But what's your take on Zidane? Do you reckon it's a good move for him?
No.
I don't think it is either.
No, I don't.
I think there's very little upside to this for Zidane.
Like you said, they say that you should never go back. I can't think of too many occasions off the top of my head where a manager has gone back and not even just replicated but matched anywhere near the success they had previously.
It's very difficult to do.
Mourinho did go back to Chelsea and he did win a Premier League title, but we know how that story went after that. Yeah. It all went south. I'm trying to think off the top of my head managers that have gone back.
Other than Mourinho.
I know your Pintnez went back to Bayern Munich.
He did okay, yeah.
He's done okay.
Yeah, he did okay.
But the thing is with Zidane is that he set the bar so high.
He did.
Did he win a La Liga? I'm sure he won a La Liga as well.
I don't know.
But, he won 3 Champions Leagues, which trumps that anyway.
Yeah.
So, his stint at Madrid last time was so impressive. Impressive doesn't even quite cut it. It was incredible. He won 3 Champions Leagues back to back to back. There was absolute European dominance. And the one massive thing that he had in his favour there, which you can see now that they miss him,
is Cristiano
Ronaldo.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, there was people that would say that his influence was diminishing when he was with Madrid, that it was the right time to go. What have you got to say for yourselves now? it literally shows that he was almost single-handedly pulling that club through.
Yeah, he was.
And we knew that in the sense that the volume of goals that he scored was freakish over the length of time that he did it for.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody quite anticipated the fallout and how far they would fall without him in the team.
Yeah.
Now, yes, there are players that are aging. There are players that are getting on a bit. Toni Kroos, maybe his best season behind him. Modric, maybe, he's not going to quite replicate what he did. Sergio Ramos is Sergio Ramos. Benzema, like you said, he's knocking on a little bit. There's a lot of youth in that team, but is it the right balance?
No, that's the one thing they're missing right now is balance.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to ask you as well, being a Manchester United fan, and United need to strengthen next season, if you could take 2 Real Madrid players right now, who would you take? Because ultimately, Madrid are going to have a lot of people leave. You look at from back to front. Okay, Ramos will probably stay now. If it was Mourinho, he probably would have gone.
Yeah.
But Toni Kroos, his position isn't safe. Isco can't even get a game right now. Modric is knocking on a bit, so we won't necessarily include him there. But Casemiro, you've got...
Yes. Is Carvajal?
Carvajal is there. Asensio.
Carvajal is a very solid right back, which we don't have.
That's true.
So Carvajal, I think, off the top of my head, would be a decent shout.
Yeah.
I would have said a while back Marcelo, because he was one of the best left backs in the world.
Yeah, Marcelo's
having his best season,
yeah.
And Shaw isn't doing that bad for us.
Yeah,
so
Shaw's doing okay.
It's a difficult one because at the moment there's no Real Madrid players that are sort of putting their hand in the air to say that I'm a quality player or a world class player.
Yeah.
I think I would take Carvajal, maybe Kroos or Casemiro.
Do you know what? I was going to say there's 2 players I would take, and that'll be Casemiro as a defensive midfielder because he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's probably only second to Kante in terms of the defensive midfield role. And I would take Isco. Oh, bro, he's a magician. Like, he's a fucking magician. Like, he's so good. And I just don't think Real Madrid fans appreciate him.
He is. I just don't know. I think we'd have to kind of rejig our system to accommodate him.
I'm thinking, Solskjaer loves to play a very attacking formation. If you wanted another quality midfielder, play him in a midfield 3 with Pogba and someone.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe. That's just my thought. Again, let us know your opinions on it. I like Isco, though. I've always said, if you go back on old podcasts, to me, bro, when he's on form, he's the best midfielder in the world. Yeah. He's unbelievable. And I'd hate to see him go to somewhere like Chelsea just for the money.
Just to waste him.
I'd love to see him at United where they sort of light the fire under him again and go, okay, take us to a new chapter. That's what I'd like to see. But yeah, that's the big news. Zidane, Grealish. In terms of the Premier League, we'll crack on with that as well. We definitely have not forgotten about that.
We're in agreement that we don't think Zidane is going to do a huge deal this
time around. No, not
I think he could taint his reputation a little bit and tarnish it a little bit to how well he's done. Yeah, he's obviously not going to win La Liga. They will give him money to spend in the summer. And
they'll give him a ton of money to spend.
He'll have a truckload of money. But it'd be interesting to see how he spends it. Because he didn't have to spend, really, last time.
Well, that's the thing, he didn't spend last time.
He didn't spend at all.
He didn't spend anything. So he had a ready-made squad.
I'd be intrigued to see that. Now, he kind of, in a way, has to build.
I was about to say, Zidane the reason a lot of United fans didn't want Zidane was because he was going to have to build a side.
Yeah.
And now at Madrid, he's going to have to build a side from back to front. Mm-hmm. So we will see what Zidane's made of.
We'll watch how that unfolds. Yes,
we shall indeed. But it's going to be an interesting summer, a very interesting summer.
Yeah.
But back to the Premier League. We'll start with the title race. Mm-hmm. It was all very routine on the weekend. There's not an awful lot to say. City beat Watford 3-1. Liverpool won their game. Little nervous start, I suppose, for Liverpool with Burnley scoring. FYI, I thought Alisson was fouled for the goal as well. I don't think it should have been a goal. Mm-hmm. But bro, I cannot escape the feeling that Liverpool may win this league.
Not a chance.
Because they're clinging on in there, right? And I got it wrote down here. The defining week for me in this Premier League season will be the week where Manchester City, they go away to Palace, they play Spurs at home, and then they go away to United. And Liverpool's run-in is relatively straightforward, other than Spurs, who come to Anfield. And I'd back Liverpool to win at Anfield. All they have to do is keep winning. And I can't see Man City getting 9 points.
But Chelsea as well.
I fancied them against Chelsea as well.
Of course, you'll fancy them against most sides. But they're not easy games, especially with Chelsea still pushing the top 4.
That's true.
They're not going to roll over.
But that defining week for Man City, away at Palace, right? That's no easy game. and then you've got Spurs, and then United in the derby.
Also, away to Southampton and away to Cardiff.
Not easy games. People who need points.
You look what Southampton did to Spurs on the weekend.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Look how good Cardiff
That's
are
Liverpool
at
now
home.
we're referring to.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. They've got to go away to Southampton. They've also got to go away to Cardiff. Those are going to be two sides. They've got to go away to Newcastle. Yeah. Newcastle have just won 5 on the spin at home, which they have not done for a very, very long time, which I know Reece will be happy about.
Yeah.
So you look at league position and you think, oh, do you know what? These are really easy games. The average league position
on paper,
but
it never works out that way.
But it's getting down to the business end of the season where teams towards that bottom 5 or 6 are really scrapping for points.
That's right. Whose arse is going to twitch first?
Yeah, it is dirty down there. It is every man for himself. And Cardiff and Southampton at home look tough to beat at the moment.
Scrap in.
So I think it's not so bad for United that they've got Cardiff and Huddersfield last 2 games of the season. You know, let's hope that both of them are already down, you know, when we play them. Because this top 4 race for United, which we'll touch on in a moment, is going to go down to the wire.
Well, do you know what? It is definitely. And that title race is going to go down to the wire. Because if Liverpool beat Bayern Monday night, we'll be recording. We'll be recording next week, and we'll know a little bit more then about how it all pans out and the actual draw for the Champions League as well.
I'm going to put it out there. I don't think Liverpool are going to beat Bayern.
Well, do you know what? If they don't, does that work to their advantage? Because the deeper City go into the Champions League, the harder it's going to be for them to come back on the weekend. Even with a big squad.
I don't think it is an advantage for Liverpool. I think if they get knocked out, that's a disadvantage.
I don't know, mind. I beg to differ on that one.
You'll have the social media outbreak of they're out of another competition and they're this close now to it being a trophyless season. There'll be pressure from that. And also, they spent all this money on these players in order to have a squad that allows them to fight on all fronts.
That's true. That's a fact.
You look at City. Yes, you know, if they go deep into the Champions League, if I'm Pep Guardiola, I'm not concerned. I've got Mahrez, I've got Aguero, I've got Jesus, I've got Sane, I've got Sterling, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Fernandinho, Phil Foden.
True.
I've got about 9 or 10, if not 6 or 7 really, really top-notch players that I can rotate. So I'm not concerned about going into the later stages of the Champions League. Those are the games that you thrive for as a professional. It's going
to be interesting.
So, like I said this last week, they're mathematically still very much in it. A point is just a point. Any points could be dropped anywhere.
Yeah.
But Liverpool, they won 4-2, but again, they almost made it, but they did make it nervy for themselves. Yeah. Burnley, pulled one back, 3-2. All of a sudden, there was 2 minutes left to play. Brighton are on the front foot.
Burnley.
Liverpool are defending.
Burnley.
I keep saying Brighton.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know.
Burnley. Sorry, Brighton. Sorry, Burnley. Burnley are on the front foot with 2 minutes to go, and you're thinking they could get an equaliser here now. Well, Liverpool were 3-1 up. You know, luckily Brighton.
What the fuck is your Brighton obsession?
Don't know what's
Jesus
going on.
Christ! It's the gay capital of the UK as well. What are you trying to say, bro?
The other team, the away team,
right? Yes.
You know, commits too many men forward. I don't know why I said Brighton so many times. Burnley commit. You wait till I get to Brighton, but that's on my Burnley.
Yeah.
You know. Burnley, commit one too many men forward, and Mane goes down the other end. Seals all 3 points, 4-2. So you look at that scoreline on paper, and you think, pretty basic result. But Liverpool allowed themselves to get uncomfortable towards the end of the game, whereas I don't see that kind of potential slip up within City.
Who's the most informed player in the Premier League right now, in your opinion?
First one springs to mind is Sterling.
Yeah, facts. I'd agree.
There's another, Ward-Prowse.
Ward-Prowse is a good shot. I would say Mane second.
Mane's up there as well.
And I would then say Ward-Prowse third. Ward-Prowse again, my beautiful goal on the weekend. We'll come to that later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I would say Sterling, then Mane.
Robertson as well.
He's
just consistent.
He's just consistent. I wouldn't say he was necessarily a standout in the way he affects a game like a Mane or Sterling. Do you know what I mean? But Sterling is really doing his thing, bro. I mean, looking at it now, if the season was to end today, who would be your player of the year?
That's a great question. If it was to end today,
I'd be hard pressed not to give it to Sterling.
He's within my top 3 straight away.
Yeah. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who else it would be. I would say and Van Dijk would be up there.
I was just about to say, I don't know if I'll give it to a Liverpool player. And I don't know why, because they've all been consistently good. Like Aguero's got a good shout because
Aguero will be up there.
He's really chipped in. Son.
Oh, actually, that's a good shout. Yeah. Son is a good shout. Yeah.
Someone mentioned on Twitter about Pogba. A part of me says I understand where you're coming from, but he only did it after Christmas.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Pogba for me wouldn't be near there.
So he's definitely pushing himself in towards that conversation. Had he done it sooner,
it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Because he's been superb since in most games that he's played.
I'd probably say I'd say a top 3 of Van Dijk, Sterling or Son.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that as well. Yeah, the title race is going to be super exciting. I mean, for the neutrals here, we love it. We're more concerned with the top 4 battle. We'll come to that in a moment after the interval because we can talk about it in a bit more depth. Just looking at the Man City game against Schalke and the Liverpool game against Bayern, the Champions League is shaping up all right. We'll mention it very quickly because we very rarely talk about anything Champions League, but United beating PSG. Give me your quick thoughts on that, because I didn't have a stream, so I was relying on Becky to WhatsApp me what was going on. The one time I actually wanted a fucking stream to watch a game, right, and I couldn't get one anywhere for love nor money. Twitter really let me down that day as well. Like, usually you've got all the nerds that come out and they're like, here's a stream for this. Not one fucking stream would work on a very expensive laptop, might I add, as well. And in terms of United's victory against PSG, what did you think of it? Is it up there as one of the greatest nights for United?
It is. I don't want to, at the same time, I don't want to overstate it I don't want it to come across like we've won the Champions League or the league, but for a standalone tie, a cup tie, a European tie, in terms of drama and excitement, it has to be up there. Definitely one of United's best European nights of all time, and with any clubs in Europe's best nights, because the drama in that game was second to none.
It was incredible.
Honestly, I don't think I've been on pins in a football match that much for a very, very long time.
It was insane.
And as a United fan watching United, I haven't
felt that way in a long time.
Felt that much drama and excitement since pre-Fergie.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. And do you know what? The fact that United have won, we could have some really tasty All English ties. I kind of want Liverpool and Man City to get through now, because all of a sudden, that quarter-final, you have 4 English teams in there.
What's great about that is only a few years ago, obviously Madrid were winning it consistently. Juve were always getting far, Bayern Munich were getting far, Barcelona, and there was a lot of people saying the English sides in the Champions League, it shows that the Premier League isn't the number 1 league. They're not at it, they're not getting as far as they used to, and they were going through a bit of a barren spell where English sides were struggling to sometimes get out of the group, even get past the last 16. And I think English football is coming again now, and we've got 4 or 5 English teams that, like you say, could all be in the last 8.
Well, do you know what? Looking at the last 8 as it stands, we have United, we have Spurs, Ajax, and Porto.
Yeah.
Probably will, for argument's sake, we'll say to be followed by
Barcelona.
Liverpool, Barcelona, Chelsea, and Atletico.
Not Chelsea, sorry.
City, I beg your pardon, sorry.
Not Brighton either.
Brighton are definitely on it.
I'm very intrigued. I definitely agree that City, Barcelona, maybe Liverpool, and I'd be interested to see the Juve Atletico game, because Juve are 2 down, but they got the home tie. So if United can do 3-1 away in PSG, there's nothing to say that
they can certainly do it, but I think
the main man,
Atletico Madrid have a bit
stubborn.
They've got more minerals than PSG, because PSG folded like a fucking wet towel.
Yeah,
they were fucking pissed.
Whether it's Atletico or Juve, that's an equally a strong side anyway.
Yeah, it's very true.
So that's going to be a very good last 8.
Yes, like I said, it's going to be tasty. United with a favourable draw, or Liverpool with a favourable draw, or any English team, realistically, I mean, they could get straight to the final.
When you've got 4 teams in the last 8, potentially 4 teams, that is, that's a very good odds for there to be at least 1 English side in the final, if not 2. And the last time that was United-Chelsea, I believe, wasn't it?
It was
2008. And that was great for English football.
Yeah, it was tremendous.
It's really good to see.
Yeah, do you know, just looking at Spurs, for example, let's say Spurs get Porto in the next one, and then Spurs get Ajax in the one after, all of a sudden, that's that's a nice route to the final.
Yeah, or United, or Liverpool, or City.
Or anyone like that. Yeah, it probably won't work out that way. Or maybe it will for one club. I don't know. We'll soon find out. But the draw is this week, is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, keep an eye on our Twitter page. We will go over the draw and we'll talk about the ties on there. So if you want to interact with us and let us know.
I can't see United getting a favourable draw. That's not the way it goes these days with them.
Well, do you know what? United do it the hard way, but the hard way is usually the exciting way.
Yeah, they drew Arsenal and then Chelsea back-to-back in the FA Cup. Mm-hmm. When everyone else was drawing League One and Championship side. So it'd be just like, I can just see it going. City will get Ajax. Liverpool will get Porto. United will get Barcelona.
Yeah, but what a game it would be.
Oh, incredible.
It would be outstanding, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. We'll go to a quick interval. After that interval, we will go over, we'll go over whatever we want to go over. We got the top 4, we got the best of the rest as well, so there's plenty to talk about. Add us up on the social media platforms. You already know the drill by now. We will be right back after this. Alright, we're back, people. B&B Podcast episode 34. The top 4 and what remains. Now, interesting subject because it's the closest top 4 I remember in a long, long time. And we had 2 of them do battle on the weekend. Arsenal came out on top. Bravo, Arsenal. Well done. Excellent victory for them. United played with a lack of intensity. Arsenal played like they had a point to prove. When I watched it, I just remember thinking, I can't see this being United's day. From the offset, I think after Lukaku missed, did he hit the bar, Lukaku, in the first half? Arsenal just seemed sharper and wanted him more. When you lose to a team midweek like Arsenal did, that are named after an indigestion tablet, Rennes or Rennies, depending on how you like to pronounce it, you kind of have professional pride kicks in and you do have a point to prove. And I felt like Arsenal did that. I felt United was still stuck in Paris a little bit. They were a bit leggy.
Yeah.
Fair shout?
Yeah, it is a fair shout. What I'd also say, though, is that I don't think, and as you say, credit to Arsenal because they got the job done, they got the win, they scored the goals that they needed to score in order to get the 3 points, and it was a big 3 points. But I don't think it was more a case of them being so, overly impressive, because apart from the Xhaka's goal, which was a little bit strange. I've watched it a few times, and you would say De Gea maybe should do a little bit better. Sometimes as a goalkeeper, when you take a step, to the wrong side,
your weight is on the other side.
When your weight's gone one way, that ball is swerved wickedly. It's hard to get back. I think it's just because De Gea set such high standards that you almost expect him to.
I'd allow Dave, right? Dave saves. Okay, and I would allow him to miss one. Yeah, because everyone's allowed one, right? It's fine.
Yeah, of course. And apart from that, and the penalty, which. You could call me biased, but from what I've read on social media and listened to pundits all around, the large majority is that they don't think it is a penalty.
Do you know what? It was soft. But do you know the only difference between that and the one in the week? VAR.
Yeah, that's true. But the point I'm making is that other than those 2 incidents which resulted in the goal, I don't think Arsenal did it. They didn't create much chances, very many chances. They didn't test De Gea. Whereas United did, and like Solskjaer came out and said, and
to a degree, I suppose.
By no means this isn't an excuse that I'm making. I'm just building a case that Solskjaer came out and said that we've won games this season where we've created far less chances than that. Mm-hmm. In Paris midweek, we had a huge slice of luck which went our way. Mm-hmm. And when things go your way, they go your way, and that's how luck works. Sometimes it goes in your favour.
The rub of the green, so to speak.
United created quite a few chances. Lukaku missed a few sitters. There was a good few one-on-ones. The second half they were very dominant, but like you said, it wasn't their day.
It just wasn't their day. So
in midweek in Paris, they rode their luck. PSG could have been a few in front. They absolutely ripped United apart down that right-hand side or their left-hand side. They hit the post. They had a really bad VAR call go against them. So United had a lot of luck. This weekend they didn't have it. I think overall they played well enough to get something from the game, but it didn't happen.
Do you think Solskjaer got it wrong tactically?
I don't necessarily think that it's Solskjaer's fault. I just think, like you said, the players just didn't seem at it. He can control the way in which they set up. He can control who is on the pitch, but he can't always control the attitude. And they seem to be. Arsenal beating them to every second ball. Yeah. They wanted it more. The desire was there. The attitude was there. It was almost like Arsenal felt like they had a point to prove, and United, like you say, were kind of just coasting. They were still.
I got that impression
high,
in the game that they were coasting
on the result in the week. So, and it's not an excuse. Arsenal got the job done.
Look,
they took the chances that they had, and they got the win. And that's all you have to say. That's the observation. But United would look at that in terms of the chances they created as points dropped.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think even at least a point for United would have been good. Yeah. I didn't really understand why Solskjaer tactically set up with sort of like Ashley Young on the right of a three-man defence almost, so to speak. Yeah. Because you know the way England set up in the World Cup is they would have a three-man defence with Kyle Walker on the right side, and United did that. And it just wasn't really effective. And they kind of, they did it against PSG as well, where Eric Bailly was on the sort of the third man across on the right side, and he got ripped to shreds by Juan Bernat, and Kolasinac was getting in everywhere down the left hand side. I don't necessarily know why Solskjaer persists with that. If you want to solidify the right hand side, then just play Young as a right back and put Dalot in front of him. That's very solid. I mean, I'm not a massive Young fan, but if all you're asking him to do is just defend, that's fine. Dalot going forward, by the way, potential on that lad.
Yeah.
And I said before, he went through puberty at like 8, because you shouldn't be that ripped for a guy who's only 19. It's fucking ridiculous.
And I'm just going to touch it very briefly. When he came on against PSG, the impact he made was superb.
Yeah.
Straight away, he went past Bernat like he wasn't even there.
Running at people, effectively.
If he can be disciplined defensively, he's not that bad defensively at the moment.
He's very young still. Don't forget.
And he's got a lot to learn. But if Solskjaer can coach him defensively a little bit better going forward, he is so good on the eye. And it's a full-backs game at the moment. You look at Alexander-Arnold and Robertson for Liverpool. They make a living out of just being so energetic, up and down all the time, but being able to do a job defensively, as well as beating players, getting forward, overlapping and putting in dangerous crosses. Dalot can do that.
Dalot's very effective when you play him as a right back, because if you got Dalot as a right back and you say to him, okay, we just want you to go forward, you can have one of three that sort of slots in and covers that position. Not necessarily covers it in the sense that they play that exact position, but just cover the space behind him, like a Matic, a Fred, a Herrera. So that's why he's so effective when you play a 4-3-3, because he can just go forward and just attack. And when he attacks at pace. It's not like an Antonio Valencia who does a step over and does that, and you're there for about 8 hours thinking, Christ, is he actually going to do something? This guy is going at you, and he's a unit. Love watching.
The thing is as well, Solskjaer, he played Dalot a lot further forward this weekend, almost in that front three. And I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
I prefer him coming from deep.
Yeah,
I prefer him coming from deep.
I prefer him coming, like you say, as a surprise, working with another player in the forward line, whoever we pick, sort of working as a two, overlapping and doing it that way rather than him being the main focus. I don't think that's what he's meant to be doing. But he's young. You experiment. You look at players over the years like Bale, who have gone from full backs to wingers, and you see wingers go back to full-backs like Valencia, Young and things like that. So it's good to experiment, but I don't know if that's... I think I prefer him at right back.
Yeah, it was a great game though, United-Arsenal game. Even though United lost, it was a game I thoroughly enjoyed watching. I thought, you know what, could they do something? And it got to about an hour in and I thought, no, it's not really going to go anywhere, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless.
Had United have won that, they would have gone points clear of Arsenal. Even with Chelsea's game in hand, they would have gone clear of them and would have been joined on points with Spurs, which would have been great. However, Spurs also lost, which we'll touch in a moment.
Well, let's get into that then, because we spoke about Arsenal and United, and enough has been said about that. I don't really know what to say about Spurs, because I thought with Ali and Kane coming back, I just thought that maybe they'd kick on, but the pressure seems to be too much for them. Pochettino absolutely ripped into them. And to the point where I actually thought, wow, maybe Pochettino might not even be there in the summer. But I mean, I don't know where his avenues are now, in the sense that the Real Madrid job is closed off. Zidane is there, and it seems like Solskjaer is a stick-on for
the United job.
Yeah. But Pochettino, he's been saying a lot of things over the past 6 months about Spurs in the transfer market, and criticising the players, and criticising ambition. And I'm starting to think to myself, does he really want to be there?
I don't think he does.
The way he tore into those players in the weekend, lack of professionalism, arrogance. I only saw the highlights of the game, so Spurs fans and Southampton fans, you can let us know if you saw it. Do tell us what you thought of Spurs' performance, because I'm interested to know, was it really that bad? But I suppose the result reflects that, does it not?
Yeah, it does. And just to touch upon what you said, Pochettino has come out and said, it seems in almost every, or at least every other press conference these days, he says something a bit controversial.
He does, yeah.
He says something that, if I'm a Spurs fan, alarm bells are going off, because you go back maybe 2-3 months ago and the season's gone by, and you watch a Pochettino press conference and he's always very encouraging, he always backs his players, he never slates Daniel Levy, he never talks about the board or the owners or anything like that. And all of a sudden now there's, it was the gossip of him going to United or potentially going to Madrid. He came out and said how they don't need to win trophies. He's come out recently and said they might not win the Premier League for another 10 years. If I'm a Spurs fan, that's worrying. You're not saying the right things. Saying things that they can't compete and things like that. So it doesn't look great. If you're a Spurs fan and you're looking at Pochettino staying.
Yeah. In
terms of the game itself, I did see most of the game. I watched highlights on Sky and on Match of the Day. It wasn't that they didn't create chances. Spurs, they created many chances. They just didn't take them.
Yeah.
And Southampton were very clinical. Ward-Prowse. With another superb free kick again.
Ward-Prowse, technically, I do wonder if he's English, because he reminds me of a foreign player, the way he plays the game.
Like a Janino, see the way he strikes that free kick.
He could be Spanish, bro. I don't know what the Spanish for Ward-Prowse is, but we've mentioned, I think it was on episode 30 of the podcast, if you want to go back and look at it. I think he was linked with RB Leipzig. And at the time, we said he could easily play at a higher level. He's a terrifically talented player. Southampton, he came through the academy, I'm right in thinking?
Yeah.
So he's probably very comfortable at Southampton. There's no need for him, he probably feels, to go anywhere right now. But I do think, I don't know how old he is. I think he's probably only, maybe 22, 23. But I think for him, he should definitely look at maybe stepping up a level.
I'll find out for you now.
Yeah, have a look. Because Ward-Prowse's technical ability, the goals he's scoring, there's not a lot of players that can do that.
Yeah. True.
And he's got great energy around the pitch, great vision. He puts a foot in. He's pretty much a complete midfielder.
Yeah. He's 24.
He's 24. There wasn't far off. So he's at that stage now where him and Southampton, they've been mutually beneficial for a while. But I think for him, take a step up, be brave.
Yeah, it depends on if they survive now and they keep Hasenhüttl and he stays and they maybe invest. I don't know what his contract situation is, but. If they stay up the season, which looks like they could do, I'd be interested to see where Southampton are going and what kind of promises they make to him about their developments. Because if the noise is coming out of his agent and the chairman, the manager, aren't giving him any sort of guarantees they're really going to kick on, I'd definitely be looking to go elsewhere.
I think Southampton, every time I've seen Southampton over the past couple of seasons, they've been battling relegation, and I've seen nothing from Southampton to suggest over the past 5 years that they're going to be a top 10 side. So if I'm him, I'm looking at the sides in the top 6, maybe the top 8 right now, and going, okay, where could I fit in there?
You can go to a Spurs.
I was just about to say Spurs. Spurs need central midfielders. Spurs need 2-3 quality central midfielders in the summer. In my previous transfer video, I was out. I mentioned Ndombele for Lyon. I think Ruben Neves would be terrific for Spurs. Ward-Prowse would be an excellent addition as well. So
he goes to Leicester.
He's got plenty of options. Leicester with Rodgers. Why not? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With Spurs as well. One thing I wanted to point out, I think is potentially one of the biggest issues with Spurs at the moment.
Do tell.
Harry Kane.
In what respect?
For as world-class as a striker that he is, I think that they struggle to build a team around him in the sense that he's the main man, right? Harry Kane. When all is rosy, and he scores, he's got 200, I think it was club goals or the stat they had in the weekend, which shows that he definitely wasn't a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
He's done it
well
back to back,
established
one of the best strikers in the world. But when he was injured, Son comes to the fore, starts winning matches by himself. The other players found a way to sort of gel together and get results. Harry Kane comes back, Son's gone missing. Yeah.
Do you think?
I think that with him as the main man,
it's the words I'm looking for.
When all is going well and Spurs play well with Kane, that's great. But when they don't play well, I just don't think that Spurs, they find a way to adapt and accommodate and work around Kane. I think he's just too much of the main man within that team.
Do you think when Kane isn't playing, Son then adopts more of... That's what I'm looking for. I can't think of what I'm looking to say.
Just think that the Spurs team as a whole, when Kane isn't in the squad, whether it be through injury or not, just find a more togetherness. They play more. It's shared around better.
Yeah. He kind of steps out of Kane's shadow a little bit.
And not just Son. There's other players that step into it as well.
Yeah.
But when Kane is there, because he is the main man, like I said, when everything goes well, which it has, for a large majority, then it's great. But when he isn't having his best games, the best performances, because he's the main man, I think everyone just looks to Harry Kane as if to say, well, do something.
Yeah.
You're our guy. But when Kane is in there, I don't seem to see like a Son or an Eriksen or an Ali step up like they would if Kane's not in the team.
Well, it'll be interesting this summer because Spurs definitely aren't going to be keeping all of their players.
The best sides in the world, they've all got a main man, but yet all the quality players around them find their way to stand up and be counted, and they will contribute just as much whether, we look at Barcelona with Messi, when he's in the team or not. Suarez, Dembele, Rakitic, they'll still do the same. With City, with Aguero or not, players still do the same.
Yeah. They are heavily reliant on Kane.
Yeah, and I think to a certain extent that their over-reliance on Harry Kane sometimes is their downfall.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. Again, Spurs fans, let us know. Just going back to the game, Southampton, terrific for them. They're up to, I think it's 16th now, Southampton, which is terrific because as a club, they...
I like them as a club.
But over the years they've produced so many quality players and they haven't been able to keep them for whatever reason. You look at their academy, and it's just been nothing short of incredible. It's true. You'd be hard pressed to name a better academy than Southampton.
I saw something the other day that if they hadn't sold the players they had in the last 5 years, their lineup would be incredible.
It would be insane. And Jan Valery as well is another prospect. He's scoring a lot of goals, looking very, very good as well. So it would be just Southampton's luck to lose him in the summer to a bigger side as well, which would be a shame because it would be nice to see them keep a few players and build upon Hasenhüttl. Did I say that right?
You did?
Hasenhüttl, good practice. Yeah, I'd like to see them build upon that, but time will tell. It is what it is. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast, so to speak. But Spurs. I mean, look,
they've lost 3 consecutive away games in the Premier League.
They're dropping like a stone now, and they really need a big performance in the next game to turn it around because that top 4 is so condensed that any small mistake you're going to be dropping out, and it's going to be very hard to get back in.
Well, lucky for them, like we said, United and Chelsea both drop points, so it gives them still a little cushion.
Yes.
But they've 1 point from 12. I want to say they've had a draw against Arsenal, then lost to Chelsea, Burnley, and Southampton.
I'm going to agree with you, but off the top of my head,
I think I'm 99% sure that's 1 point in 12 for Spurs.
Yeah. Which
at this stage of the season, when we've actually praised them so much in previous episodes, not that long ago, but they just keep getting the job done against these sort of sides.
Yeah. But that's where Spurs' bread and butter is. They used to blast past everybody outside the top 6, and that would keep them cushy in there. But now,
just thought of something. Have you seen Paddy Power's advertisement for a bet that they've, or for a bet that they've put on for the Cheltenham Cup horse racing?
I saw some type of advert. Didn't you tag me in something earlier, or was it was Reece? I think Reece tagged me in something. Shout out to Reece.
It's it was something like with the Cheltenham Cup, the horse racing. If you put a bet on a horse that finishes 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, then you'll have your money back, and they've called it the Tottenham Hotspur.
Paddy Power doing Spurs dirty.
How to get away with this shit is the Ryan Giggs thing as well with Rodri Giggs, which is incredible. And I'm a United fan.
I mean,
I love Ryan Giggs. I'm a United fan, but that was superb. And
I don't even want to speak on.
I was in the car on the way to work, and they said, we're calling this the Tottenham Hotspur special because if your horse finishes second, third or fourth, we'll give you money back. I was like, oh,
Spurs fans,
they're going to come for you.
I'm sorry, it's not us, it's them.
This isn't us, this is Paddy Power.
Oh God, they're not far wrong.
I cringed.
They're not far wrong.
Yeah,
but
it's not me that was saying it, but I did laugh.
Yeah, oh man, that's fucking harsh.
And if you're a Spurs fan and you didn't laugh as well, shame on you.
Involuntary laughter.
Laugh at that.
That's involuntary laughter.
If you can't laugh at yourself, then...
Yeah, no, that's it. So yeah, Spurs are looking a bit flummoxed. Southampton looking like they're going to stay up. The next top 4 game, oh man, my team of the season, Wolves. I'm calling it now. I'm just going to say it. Like, no matter what happens next over the next, let's say 6 weeks, Wolves are my team of the season.
I love to sometimes
given the brand they played.
Yeah,
no touching them.
Oh, I love to sometimes, give a counter argument to you, but in this case, I don't have one. You have people will say your obvious choices about City or Liverpool, but you expect them sides to be there. With Wolves, what they've done is nothing short of incredible. They should have won on the weekend as well.
Yeah.
They did more than enough, and Chelsea did grab a late equaliser 92nd minute, I think it was.
Yeah, it's Hazard. Yeah.
But they were so close to getting such another really impressive victory against the top 6 side, which they've done all the season.
I wonder if they can do it next season, and I wonder what players will be at Wolves next season, because the bigger the bigger teams are going to come circling, and they're certainly going to win a few of them. But if they can keep the nucleus of that team together, I don't see why they couldn't have another good top 10 finish next season.
Yeah,
they're a very good side.
Well,
a very, very good side.
They sit in 7th. Place at the moment. I'm just checking with what their running is like. So we take United and the FA Cup sort of out of that. So they're away to Burnley. They have got United in the league as well at home, which is not an easy game for United.
No, not at all.
Then they're away to Southampton. They're home to Brighton. Then they're away to Watford, home to Fulham, and then away to Liverpool. So there's a couple of games now which I absolutely,
they're not easy. It's not an easy run.
No, but there's 3 or 4 games there which they could easily get a result in.
True.
And you look at the league table, they sit in 7th. I see no reason why they can't finish 7th. If they finish 7th, agree. There's money in that club. There's a lot of investment. If they finish 7th, that, like we've said before, is the best of the rest. Yeah?
Yeah, fair shout.
That top 6, you'll do well without huge investment to get in that top 6.
Well, do you know, it's funny you mentioned huge investment, because I regularly go on football sites and look at transfer rumours, and there's a few I follow in particular on Twitter. Sport Witness, for example, they cover all the foreign papers. Excellent source when it comes to providing information on foreign transfers, because it's not like the British one. It's very sensationalized, whereas these guys, they get straight to the point and they'll give you the ins and outs, and they're always very interesting. And the transfer market in Spain and Portugal and all these other places, it really fascinates me, because you have things like the buyout clauses and everything else. Now, Wolves feature quite heavily because of their relationship with Jorge Mendes, who is Cristiano Ronaldo's agent. I think he might be Joao Moutinho's agent, and a few other sort of players there. I don't know if you've ever heard of this player, because I've only seen bits and pieces of him. Other people may know him, and if you do, let us know. But Benfica right now have a player called Joao Felix.
Yeah.
Joao Felix is pulling up trees in Portugal, doing very well. He's only 19. The talk was that United wanted to sign him, but now what they're saying is Wolves at the front of that pack. And they're saying Wolves could come in financially and purchase him, which would be huge given the fact that he has his pick of the big clubs.
Yeah.
But what they're saying, very much like Ruben Neves, is Wolves will go to Portugal again this summer and look to buy the big young players. And that fucking fascinates me, because they have such heavy investment. They're not fucking around, like, do you mean? And Wolves, with that type of investment, not saying they'll break into the top 6 next season, but they'll be pushing for 7th again if they keep the nucleus.
Yeah, 100%. And they've got that Portuguese link as well.
Yeah, they do.
With Nuno Santo. They've got Rui Patricio, Ruben Neves, Joao Moutinho. I'm sure there's a couple more in there as well.
Yeah.
So I can certainly see that. That makes sense. When there's clubs. I think Newcastle at one point had loads of French players.
They did, they did.
Linked up with them, and sort of just follows that sort of pattern. With Portuguese players, as we know, they can go both ways. You can get a Cristiano Ronaldo, or you can get an Anderson.
Anderson's Brazilian, but I take your point.
No, so you get Nani.
Nani's not that bad.
Yeah. What I meant as well
who was
is
the lad that played for fucking Arsenal and Fulham back in the day? Luis Boa-Morte.
Yes, yeah.
What I meant as well is
when you take players from the Portuguese league as well as Portuguese players, is where I was coming from. You can.
It's a mixed bag. So to speak.
It is a mixed bag. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that should they make those signings. But if you're a Wolves player, players like Jimenez and Jota.
Great players
that are doing very, very well.
Players that none of us had really heard of, unless you were maybe into that sort of type of thing.
Yeah.
And incredible, bro. I'm lost for words.
If they finish 7th, and the board are saying that they're going to give really good investment again, then there's huge incentive for those players to stay. And to buy into the project that's being built.
Truth be told, right, if we were to analyse this properly, and you say, like you said, in terms of incentive to stay, right, unless some of the bigger Italian clubs maybe come in, right, and I'm talking your Inter Milans, your AC Milans, people with pedigree, right, people with a history, they've just finished 7th in the Premier League. Financially, they'll all be on good contracts, play an excellent brand of football, playing what you would call the most competitive league or the most exciting league in the world. There's no reason for them to go anywhere.
No.
Absolutely none. There's no incentive to leave.
And you look at the difference as well. Last season, Burnley finished 7th.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when Burnley finished 7th, they didn't have a financial platform to build on top of that. They just had a very good season where the brand of football that Sean Dyche played, they made him very hard to beat. They won so many games 1-0. And it just worked. And this season, obviously, we've shown that hasn't been repeated.
Yeah.
With Wolves, the difference is if they finish 7th, they've got the financial backing, the financial clout. They can buy players at good transfer values. They can pay decent wages.
Yeah.
When I say transfer clout, obviously they haven't got the money that United do. City, Liverpool, Chelsea. Spurs don't have that much money. They're probably saying
no, they don't.
Wolves,
really
I would say they're probably not that far off, with a similar sort of purchasing power to a Spurs, potentially.
Well, do you know what? Jamie Carragher mentioned that previously. He talked about Spurs. They wouldn't pay the contracts for Sadio Mane. They wouldn't pay the contract for Harry Maguire. And Spurs now are going to be in a position financially in the summer where they're still paying for that stadium.
Yeah.
And Spurs might not spend a penny. They may not spend nothing. That's the harsh reality. And then you have a team like Wolves who will see a Joao Felix and they'll go, here's 35 million.
Yeah.
Plus, that's 35 million just a transfer fee, let alone a 5-year contract, which could equate to, let's say 15 million. So that's 50 million all of a sudden on a player that a team above them can't afford.
Well, they're going to get 100 odd million from TV rights. They're going to get extra money from the Premier League. They don't have to put that into their stadium, and that's not going to get absorbed like a lot of Spurs' money will.
Exactly.
So yeah, it would be very interesting to see. But just to bring that point back round, I agree. I think that Wolves I would agree they would be my team of the season.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Just like this.
The whole Sarri situation's gone very quiet at Chelsea now.
Yeah.
He's very fortunate that Hazard scored that goal. Otherwise, there'd be a massive spotlight on him right now. He's been very fortunate that with the Europa League they picked up some wins, and I'd say that hype around him has kind of died down, because at 1 minute it was like the scope was on him, and it's like you make a wrong move, you're going. But now he's got a little bit of leeway, so to speak, especially with that top 4 battle. Yeah,
he was, I think, maybe 1 or 2 games away from getting sacked.
100%.
6 or 7 games back. I think if he'd have lost another certain Premier League game, or he hadn't have beaten the Spurs in the semi-final or knocked out then, obviously when he did get through, that bought him another couple of games. Then he lost in the final, which obviously isn't as bad as going out earlier on.
Yeah.
Like you say, if he'd have lost against Wolves, alarm bells are ringing even louder. I think it's got to that point now that it's now just too late to get rid of him. I think there's not enough time. If they're going to sack him now,
I would agree with that.
7 or 8 games left. You bring another manager in to do what? See out the season. That's what Sarri's going to do.
There'd be no point. It'd be like getting Goose Hiddink to babysit people.
Yeah, it's
no point.
It's like Sarri. It's your side. You've made your bed. We're going to allow you to lay in it for the rest of the season. It's your style. Just see it through. Either win the Europa League or find a way to get us into the top 4. And we're going to at least trust you with the last 10 to 12 games left in the season.
Yeah.
For you to do that. If he doesn't, I think even if he does, he's probably not going to win a trophy. And Abramovich doesn't keep managers that don't win trophies.
Well, look, Chelsea are going to go through a major transition next year, because all of a sudden you could have Sarri gone, and the players he's brought in, the next manager might not like. They might not like a Jorginho or Higuain.
Transfer ban, and Hazard is very likely to go.
Well, do you know what? Speaking of the transfer ban, it's interesting that Spanish clubs, again, and I don't know why this is. Maybe they grease the wheels a little bit more, and maybe they play the game a little bit more, but when Atletico and whoever else had their transfer ban, they were delayed. So when you appeal a ban, it automatically gets delayed and it gets pushed back. Chelsea appealed, but they said, no, your ban starts this summer. Now, I don't know if they're cracking down on financial fair play or the illegal tapping up of minors, but Chelsea seem a little hard done by when you see what's happened historically with other clubs. And going back to what you were saying about Hazard previously and whatnot, they're going to struggle to replace Hazard. Mm-hmm. You can't they would struggle to replace him in a normal transfer window. Given the fact now that they can't bring anybody in, you could have Hazard gone, you could have Kante gone if Sarri's still there, you could have, well, we don't know what Kepa's situation is going to be in the summer either. It's going to be interesting, bro.
Higuain's on loan, so he'll go back.
On loan.
The thing is,
Hudson-Odoi is another one.
Is Morata on loan, or did they get?
I think he's on loan.
So it'd be interesting because Higuain would go back and Morata would come back. You'd think, because if Higuain goes, they can't buy a striker, so they have to take Morata back.
Well, that's it. I mean, Higuain's basically just got a nice 5-month holiday in London because he can't sign at the end of the season.
And vice versa, because Morata's scoring a couple of goals in
Morata could still join, but then would you give up?
That's what I was going to say. Would they allow him to go if they can't sign? The thing is as well, it's an interesting one, the whole Chelsea transfer situation, because on the surface it seems like they've been very hard done by. Now, I don't know the finer details as to why that is, because I think it's Atletico, Real and Barcelona, I think, are the 3 Spanish teams.
All the Spanish clubs seem to get away with it.
They've all, had that sort of ban put on hold.
Yeah.
And if it is as straight up as that, and, they've had that put on hold, Chelsea have applied and they haven't, I have no idea why that's the case, but that would be very harsh.
I can only assume, just going back to what you were saying, in the background, maybe Chelsea officials knew that was coming, and that's why they didn't let Hudson-Odoi go.
And brought in Pulisic.
Yeah, I can only assume maybe that is the case, because Hudson-Odoi was desperate to go, and then in any other situation, if you get... He's ridiculously talented, right? And I've said many a time, I think he's fucking great. But 40 million for an unproven 18-year-old is good business. Mm-hmm. It's good business financially. It makes perfect sense. They refused to take it. And at the time I was thinking, why would they not take that?
Yeah, it stinks.
And at the time you were saying it was quite selfish of them. And I think that's the reason why. They probably knew that transfer ban was coming. In the background, someone had said to them, look, this is going to happen. And they've gone, okay, well, if we sell him, what are we going to do?
It's true. The thing is, as well, is you get yourself a good lawyer, and surely it would argue the case of inconsistency with rulings.
FIFA do what they want, bro.
But yeah, like you said, there's brown envelopes everywhere.
I don't know if you saw it the other day. It was slightly off topic. Did you see the whole thing about the Qatar payments for the World Cup? Mm-hmm. There was 400 million and then another payment of like 450 million. I'm telling you, it's the most football, as much as it's the best game in the world, one of the most fucking corrupt games.
I agree with that. But it doesn't look like Chelsea are going to get a break with that one. So it is what it is. And
it's interesting.
They're going to have to hope now, because it seems that Hazard is all but gone. The things that he's been saying, he's not going to want to stay in this shitstorm.
No,
he's coming to that point in his career where if he wants to go to an elite club, he needs to go now.
Zidane loves him as well.
Zidane does love him, and they're going to hope, Chelsea fans are going to pin all their hopes that Pulisic can
That's
come.
A big ask for Pulisic as well.
And try and fill those boots.
Yeah.
Because Chelsea without Eden Hazard, he is their talisman.
It looks bleak for them.
Willian's great and all. Kante is a superb player, but in terms of attacking flair, Obviously, William
everything
on his
goes
day
to Hazard.
is great, but Hazard is the main guy, and you take him out, and they can't really replace him.
They cannot
There's
replace
trouble.
Hazard.
That is trouble.
It spells big trouble for Chelsea, bro.
All of a sudden, all these 40-odd loan players Chelsea got out that they don't really seem to have much care over. I think somebody's going to be scoping back over those lists.
Who do they have on loan that could come in and significantly make a difference?
I got this list up the other day.
Go have a list. Look through that list for me again, because I'm off the top of my head, I cannot think of a player who could come in and replace Hazard. Or let's say, for example, come in and replace Higuain.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anybody. I mean, Tammy Abraham is one. So you could say Tammy Abraham, but would you really trust Tammy Abraham at the top level right now?
No, I wouldn't, is the honest answer. But, you have to have a look.
I mean, again, very good football player, and he scored goals consistently in the Championship. But I do think to myself, wow, if you're chasing major honours in a Champions League spot, it's an awful lot of pressure to put on Tammy Abraham all of a sudden.
Indeed, yeah.
Who have we
let's
got?
have a look. We got Kennedy.
Lewis Baker is okay. Masonda doesn't seem to be wanted at Chelsea.
Batshuayi.
Well, I mean, look, he's not the worst option.
No, you got. So I'm just gonna just go through.
Lucas Piazon still plays for Chelsea. Fuck, that guy's been stealing a living.
You got Abraham, Batshuayi, Victor Moses, Pulisic, Musonda, Kennedy, Lewis Baker. Then you've got Bakayoko's out, Zuma's out. Those aren't sort of positioned. I'm sure there's more than that as well. There is more than that.
Who are we looking at?
I'm gonna get another link because that's only 29. I think that was the season before.
Are they just the main ones?
Yeah, I think there's 43 or something.
Other than Batshuayi and potentially Abraham, if you wanted to really bolster it and just bring back two just to be on the safe side, there's not a lot there, bro. To be honest with you.
Yeah, but desperate times. Mason Mount.
Mason Mount, I suppose, in midfield you could put him in because Kovacic. He's on loan. Yeah, so. Mason Mount could certainly come in. I'd like to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek given more of a starting role.
Yeah.
Especially if Kovacic leaves. It's hard to say though, bro. If Chelsea are in deep shape, bro.
That list of loan players, there's nobody on that list really, apart from Pulisic that's coming in at the end of the season, that you would say or Chelsea would sign if they weren't on loan. But when you're desperate
times call
there's
for desperate
two or three
measures,
players in there who could potentially be called back in to do a job in that squad.
Yeah, no, that's facts. Okay, cool. Interval time, add us all up. We'll be back with the best of the rest after this. And make sure you get adding. We'll be back right now. Boom, we're back. All right, straight into it. No messing around.
None
whatsoever. All right, Newcastle Everton.
What a game.
Reece Henley is somewhere and he is just all wanked out right now, let me tell you. Because Reece being the Newcastle supervan must have busted at least 3 nuts during that game. Easily.
Euphoria.
Pure euphoria. Mm-hmm. That's what football's about, isn't it? That comeback. Newcastle have waited a long time for a comeback like that as well.
Yeah.
Don't call it a comeback. And you kind of have to in this respect. But it's fucking unbelievable, bro. I was chuffed for them as well because I like Newcastle.
That boy Reece, he's got a little smile on his face lately.
Boys. I think he's like knowing you get your first boner, that type of smile. It's one of those types. Yeah.
It's like when you play a Truth or Dare for the first time and you end up necking that
Reece,
girl,
boy.
that you've had your eye on.
Do you know what? To come back from, what was it, 2-0 down against Everton?
Yeah.
And not a bad Everton side. We give them a little bit of stick. They've got quality in certain areas. But for Newcastle in the predicament they've been in to come back, would you say that's them safe now?
Where do they sit at the moment?
I think it's 13th. So they are 6 points ahead of safety with a significantly better goal difference. So I wouldn't 7 points.
I wouldn't call them safe yet.
Just yet.
Not just yet, because 2 losses on the spin and teams below them picking at some points and they can easily sort of be dragged back in. But I think, like I pointed out earlier, I'm sure they've now won, I think it's 5 home games in a row.
It's something like that. I remember reading
4
that
or 5
on.
in a row, which they have not done for a very, very long time. But I think they're going to be safe. They're not safe yet.
I hope so. I like Newcastle, like I said.
I love Newcastle as a club. Massive club, huge following, one of the best fan bases in the world. Great stadium. Good manager. they've had an owner that's just done a complete and utter injustice over the years, and we won't delve into that because we know about that. But it's nice to see Newcastle doing okay at the moment. This happened last year in the Benitez. They had a really strong finish to the season. I think they ended up finishing, was it 10th or 11th last season?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but Newcastle fans, Reese included, let us know.
Yeah, I think they powered on strong and finished, I think it was in the top 10 or 12. And they could potentially do that again. But this guy, Almiron...
he's a baller, bro.
Yeah.
I wonder how he ended up in the MLS.
I don't know.
I can only assume it's the quality of life living in America, because the MLS is not known for developing young players. I suppose it's going down that route a little bit more now. But he could have easily gone from South America to Europe.
Yeah. I don't know what they did or and what sort of offer they made him and tried to persuade him to come to a club like Newcastle. Now, like I said, that it's got good history. It's got good fans. Most people know about Newcastle.
Well, do you imagine he would have had other offers on the table? So
it reminds me of you've seen Goal, the film Goal with Santiago Muñez.
No, I've heard of it. I've never seen it though.
It's like it's something similar to that. He was a young kid in Mexico, who was just extremely talented. I know this is all fiction. I won't delve into that too much, but it's a similar kind of story. Reese will know what I'm talking about. I'm sure a lot of football fans and Newcastle fans will know as well. It's things of something a bit like that.
Yeah.
But he's had a massive impact for them. Every time he picks up the ball, he looks like he's going to do something.
And he's not lightweight either, is he?
No.
He's physically ready for the Premier League.
And also, when you get a player that's come in that's making that sort of impact, I've noticed Aozi Perez has now kicked on a gear.
Yeah.
Because he's always had ability, but he hasn't really done a huge amount with it, especially not consistently.
Almiron, I think he takes the weight off other people's shoulders as well, because it's another person to assume responsibility, and he can go, okay, give me the ball, I'll do something. And now Perez goes, okay, well maybe I don't have to do it all. Now I actually have a supply line and someone I can trust in as well. So he's money well spent so far. You
got Rondon as well. Consistent.
Shoulders.
He's been involved in 13 Premier League goals for them this season. 8 goals, 5 assists.
He's a fucking unit.
He's dug them out of a few holes.
It's a very good player as well.
He's just an absolute handful.
That's exactly what
I wouldn't want to defend against him.
You wouldn't want to defend against him.
And when you've got someone like Almiron that has the ability to beat a player, he can strike a ball. The one that Perez pounced on, I think it was for the winner, or was it either 2-2 or 3-2?
Oh, we're going to have to come to that now because...
What a drive. That's a great strike.
What a drive, right? But Jordan Pickford, bro, we'll just come off Newcastle for a minute, right? Jordan Pickford got completely lost in the emotion of that game. As an ex-Sunderland player and a Sunderland fan, and generally Sunderland through and through, did you see the face he pulled when the ball went out of play?
I did.
It's like, bro, you're England's number one, and you've not done yourself any justice this season either. Like, he's really put in some shoddy displays.
Yeah.
And I get him wanting to do well against Newcastle, right? But you have to have a degree of professionalism about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's no way to conduct yourself as a top. If you're going to be an elite goalkeeper, it's absolutely no way to conduct yourself. And we've mentioned in the past, right, how he will pull off terrific saves, but he's not consistent, and everybody's had doubts about Jordan Pickford. That performance just reinforces those doubts.
It does, yeah.
It doesn't do him any favours, especially as England number one, with Heaton playing well, Angus Gunn playing well. Ben Foster doesn't give a shit about England, but Ben Foster would be ahead of him right now.
I honestly wouldn't pick Jordan Pickford as my number one at the moment.
I don't think I would either.
I don't care what he's done before.
I don't think I would either.
Or that he's the current number one.
He's done nothing to justify it.
Yeah, and he's done nothing this season to put any faith in me as Gareth Southgate. If I'm Gareth Southgate, I'm not convinced by Jordan Pickford.
I'm not.
In games like that, I understand that you have passion, and you're up for it. But when you made the mistake that you did early on, he's lucky the matter which he didn't tuck that penalty away. He kind of redeemed himself by the save. But you've then got to just go under the radar and do your job, because he made some okay saves, but it was ruined and it was overshadowed by...
No one remembers the good things.
No.
Because the good things are too normal. Now, the mistakes, they create headlines and they would excite people.
Mm-hmm.
And right now he's full of mistakes. Do you know what's really interesting? I remember an interview from... I don't know if it was an interview, sorry, I beg your pardon. It was just a segment on Sky. And it was either Carragher or Neville. It might have been Jamie Carragher, actually. And they were talking about Joe Hart playing for England. And it was really interesting because it never occurred to me before. Joe Hart, when he would be out in the tunnel, he would be like banging his head against his hands, and he'd be super pumped. You'd see him in the lineup for the anthems, and he couldn't keep still. And Gary Neville or Carragher, I'm pretty sure it was Carragher, said he's too pumped up, and that was what happened to Pickford. He was just too pumped up for the occasion, and he lost his fucking marbles. Like some of his mistakes, even in the derby against Liverpool. Do you know where he palmed it down for Origi to score? I just looked at him and I remember thinking, you don't have the composure to play top level.
As well,
you don't have the temperament to play top level football. I think that's evident now. Unless he matures very quickly, his career is just going to go stale.
Yeah,
and that's not to be harsh, because he does have potential. But even some of his kicking ability, I watched him the other week in the derby against Liverpool. It was shite. Like, there was nothing to it at all. And at one point, I think the commentator said, does he know somebody in the crowd? Why does he keep kicking the ball in the same spot every single time?
He could fall just as quickly as he's risen, Jordan Pickford.
That's what you got to remember, bro.
At the moment, like we've said, he's not doing anything to justify his England #1 spot. And within a matter of just a couple of seasons, he could find himself between the posts of a side that's fighting relegation, or for a side that's not anywhere near competitive in the Premier League, because he's not consistent enough. He may not have the right temperament, and he makes too many mistakes.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
As a goalkeeper, if you're aspiring to be a goalkeeper at the highest level, any young goalkeepers out there, or young kids that that are watching and are playing in net, consistency is everything.
Yeah. Because
you make one mistake, and unless someone like a De Gea, who's earned the right to have the odd mistake here and there,
you have to earn your stripes first before you make a mistake.
Then you make a couple of mistakes back to back, and you are gone. You have to start almost from scratch. If you go back to reserve goalkeeper, and as a goalkeeper professionally, the goalkeeper that's on the bench doesn't get hardly any chances unless it's an injury to get on. So you look at like Heaton's come back, but remember Nick Pope for Burnley?
Nick Pope,
when Heaton was out and he came in, he was outstanding until he then got injured, which had Heaton back in. Obviously Angus Gunn, he's coming for Southampton. You take Jordan Pickford, for example. If he falls out of favour, someone else comes in.
Am I thinking Fraser Forster as well? Was he playing for Southampton, or was he Scottish? He's definitely a Scottish name.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure he's English as well. Again, very talented goalkeeper. I haven't seen of him.
So it's almost like, as a goalkeeper, consistency is one of the most important things, because if you lose that and you make too many errors, you could find yourself on the bench. Your reserve keeper comes in, and if he has one good game even, and strings a couple of good games together, then you could lose your place. Yeah,
no, these are facts. That's true, bro. It's very true. So the game itself, as I say, we don't necessarily go over in too much depth, because it was a good win for Newcastle. Disappointing for Everton, but that just sums up Everton's season as a whole, really. We've been over it a million times, so what else can we really say about Everton that we haven't already said?
I didn't think they'd stuff 2-0 lead. They proved me wrong.
Yeah.
But just a couple of nice stats for Newcastle fans to finish off on this one. So Newcastle came from 2 goals down to win a Premier League game for the first time since October 2003 against Fulham, when the late great Sir Bobby Robson was in charge.
That is a long time.
So that's the kind of excitement that Newcastle haven't seen for 16 years.
They have had it bad, man, haven't they?
They have not witnessed a game,
Jesus Christ,
home or away, that their side has come from 2 goals down to win since 2003. That's a long time coming, that is.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to go 2-0 down, of course not, especially at home. But for Newcastle fans to see that kind of resolve and that fight from their side, as proven by that stat, is something that they have not seen for many a year.
Character, as Brendan Rodgers says.
Jordan Pickford, a stat for him, he saved the last 3 of the 4 penalties he's faced, but I'm sure there's a stat that said he probably was the creator.
By the way,
downfall of most of those penalties.
His rugby tackle, right, where he should have been sent off as well. He covered himself in no glory bar the penalty.
It's
save.
the double penalty rule, isn't it?
Jesus Christ Almighty! Like, the way, I don't know if it was Rondon he took out at the time. I was just embarrassed. There was something you see on a school pitch. Like, Marco Silva must have been pulling his hair out, going, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, we have spoke about this multiple times, Jordan. Just please be composed.
Yeah, do you know what? He got away with it, though, because
how he got away with it,
I agree with that rule. I don't think that there should be a penalty and a red card.
A penalty,
it restores the opportunity.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But even then, it's just fuckery at the highest level.
It is.
It's just stupidity.
But he got away with it, Jordan Pickford, because he saved the penalty. He had a yellow card, I believe, as well. But what a stupid thing to do. But he would look back on that and kind of say, "Oh, I got away with it." But 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't, But yeah, it's looking really good for Newcastle, and not looking so good for Everton. But like you say, what's news there?
Yeah, very true. Leicester Fulham. I have the best James Maddison stat in the fucking world.
Wait to hear it, because you love James Maddison.
I'm such a James Maddison stan. I'm not even a fan. I'm like stan in the Eminem video. I fucking love James Maddison. I just happened to come across it on Twitter earlier on, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to retweet this just to keep it for tonight's episode, right?
Yeah.
So this is from Opta Joe. So Opta have confirmed. No player in Europe's top 5 leagues has created more goal-scoring chances this season than James Maddison. 81 chances he's created. So in Europe's top 5 leagues, nobody has created more chances than him. My guy, James Maddison. That's what I like to see. Fucking superb, man. And, he went off the boil a little bit, but he can still be very proud of the season he's had. Terrific young player. Mm-hmm. And again, look, I know Leicester had a change of manager. And they're not doing that bad, in fairness. I mean, look, we all expected them to beat Fulham. Again, there's not even an awful lot to talk about in the game. I mean, it was very routine. But Maddison, I mean, look, bro, depending on, who's where next season and who's doing what, the who, what, where, the when, and the why, might not be at Leicester.
All I want to say is, with Leicester fans, I want to know your thoughts, because it seems like you may have your Leicester back that is playing good football again, attacking football. Brendan Rodgers, the way he plays, so far so good. It seems to really suit Vardy.
Vardy loves
on
to
the
play.
front foot, counter-attacking.
Vardy, I looked on the weekend. He loves to play on the shoulder of the defender, and he's not. I think he might have lost a yard of pace, but he's still very fast, and he loves playing just in between the centre halves, on the shoulder of the last defender, and players like Maddison, Yuri Tielemans, just slot him in, and it works perfectly. And Rodgers is really sort of accommodating that.
Yeah, shout out to Yuri Tielemans as well, because what an impact he's had.
Brilliant play, bro.
I put him in my dream team last week.
Good shout.
And I don't think anybody seemed to do that, because I looked at his form. He's had 2 assists in the last 2 games prior to this weekend. Got himself on the score sheet as well. His goal seemed easy. You'd think it was a tap in, but he had the composure and sort of sense of mind to sort of just dummy, let the defender go past for an easy tap in. Seems very straightforward, but for a player with quality, that doesn't just happen.
He's only 21 and he's on loan at Leicester.
Yeah, and
I'd be very surprised if there isn't a massive fight for his signature.
I was going to say they would do well.
They do very
to get him on a permanent basis, but it was a massive coup for them actually getting him there on loan in the first place.
100%.
But yeah, the signs at the moment early on are bright for Leicester. They were unlucky against, was it Watford, the game prior.
They lost 2-1, did they?
Yeah, I think they scored late.
Andre Gray scored the
they were unlucky there. But there was no such luck needed against Fulham. Again, like you say, you'd expect them to beat Fulham. Vardy looked great. He scored his 100th goal for Leicester. Since the start of 2014-15 season, only 3 players have scored more goals in the Premier League than Jamie Vardy. Can you name them?
I'm trying to see if I can find the stat. I just found it as well.
You always do this to me.
No.
Always do to me.
I honestly, I saw one name on. I didn't see the other. Kane is one.
Yeah.
I don't know who the other is though.
They have to be English.
Oh, they're not. Oh, no, it's not. All right.
Three
I don't know. There's someone obvious that I'm probably missing.
Put you on the spot now. On the spot. He's not good on the spot.
I'm not good on the spot at all. Kane is obviously one.
Yeah, 122 he scored.
Who else am I missing? There's got to be somebody blatantly obvious that I'm missing.
There's one very blatantly obvious person who's been mentioned tonight.
I've gone limp.
Floppy Cock FC.
Floppy Cock FC. What's going on?
Serge.
Oh, Aguero.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't think of Aguero at all.
109 and Rom.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Romelu Lukaku did the funniest fucking video the other day for Puma. Have you seen it?
I did see it.
Where he does, where Lukaku reads the mean tweets, and it was fucking hilarious. And at the end of it, he says, "My goal scoring record stacks up," and I say that every week about Lukaku. And some guy tweeted him, and it's just fucking harsh. So. Some guy said tweeted Romelu Lukaku about Lukaku. He said he runs like he's got a Deliveroo bag on his back. Oh man, these tweets are savage. These tweets are fucking.
This is where
they finished
I love social media.
Social media.
Sometimes I hate it.
That's the fun side of social media.
Social media is undefeated. The internet is undefeated.
You can't beat the internet.
Vardy scored 74 Premier League goals since the start of 2014-15 season. Only Lukaku 81, Aguero 109, and Kane 122 have scored more goals than that.
Big stats.
It's kind of worth mentioning as well in Vardy's favour that he's had a sustained period of time in the Puel where he hasn't really had consistent game time.
Yeah, I never understood that, to be honest.
So that number could be even higher. So shout out to Jamie Vardy. He gets a lot of credit anyway. He deserves it, but. Yeah, fair play to the guy,
Yeah, no, cool. All right, we won't mention Fulham because there's nothing to mention. They're pretty much down. Huddersfield, Bournemouth. We'll talk about Bournemouth quick. I'm not speaking about Huddersfield anymore because there's just nothing to say. Like, really, I can't polish a turd. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing we can say anymore about them. They're not even giving us a goal. I can't even sit here and go, well, that was a good strike. It's just no point. So, yeah, Bournemouth...
Go on, you go first.
Bournemouth, I'm not mentioning Huddersfield anymore.
I'm going to mention one thing about them.
It better be quick. Bournemouth, they stay, what are they, 12th now, are they, give or take?
Yes, 12th.
And, again, very routine, but it's very Bournemouth. We expected that, right? I mean, they go away, they win, it's comfortable. They'll go away against someone else and get pumped another week. It's like, the scales. The Libra scales, the balance. 1 minute they're up here, the other minute they're down here.
Yeah, with Bournemouth, this is the best game they could have had, given their recent results. Because before this, they'd lost 9 consecutive Premier League away games.
Bro, they're just very inconsistent.
And when you look into when the hoodoo run like that, was the only away game in the Premier League you would like?
You want the whipping boys?
We'll go to Huddersfield, please.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's a
banker,
constant,
please. Let's go to Huddersfield, please. And they did just that, and it was just as easy as you would have predicted. What I was going to say about Huddersfield was, I was watching Match of the Day, right?
Yeah.
Bournemouth go 1-0 up.
Yeah.
And you know how Match of the Day, they cut segments, they take the best bits and they take the highlights, the things that you want to see.
Yeah.
Because at 10:30 in the night, you don't want to watch 90 minutes, and that's the whole idea behind it.
Not trying to watch 90 minutes of Huddersfield
not at all. But Bournemouth scored, and then it cut to a highlight reel started off where I think it was Mounier sort of beat a player, runs down the wing, and it was as if they were about to show a good chance by Huddersfield.
Yeah. And
what happened is Mounier knocks it past the player, runs down the byline, crosses it, and it just goes straight out for a goal kick. And I was like, as he whips it, and the pundit on TV just goes, "Don't think that's what he had in mind." And it just goes out, and I thought, oh no, that is the highlight. Yeah,
that was the one highlight of the game. I feel sorry for Huddersfield.
Match of the day, they've had such little highlights to put in. They've gone, well, we're gonna have to put something in.
Yeah.
So we'll put this one in where he does something well initially, but there's no end product and just goes straight out. And I thought, this is desperate.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. It's desperate.
If it's got to the point where your 90-minute game has been condensed into your highlights, and they can't even get you 2 or 3 minutes of highlights, then you're in real trouble. They've always been in real trouble.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry, Huddersfield fans. It's nothing personal. I think you would probably have to agree with us. Like you said, you can't polish a turd.
I'm not.
If there was something that you did well in the game or a certain player played well, we would point it out. But it's just not the case.
I'm not wasting any more camera battery on Huddersfield.
Exactly.
Bournemouth, just quickly touch upon Callum Wilson. Yeah. Should he be in the England squad for the internationals coming up?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that as well. I think he's earned his spot. I'm sorry, bro, to cut you off.
No, that's fine. The last thing I wanted to bring up, Bournemouth related, I mentioned a gentleman, Joao Felix, very early on in the season. I gave him my play of the weekend, and
Ryan Fraser.
Yeah, Reece more so than yourself, but kind of both looked at me and went.
I did at the time. I was a little like
as if to say didn't see that one coming.
I didn't.
And Reece sort of looked at me a little bit perplexed, and I mentioned at the time something along the lines of, I really rate this kid. He did well last season when he came on as a sub, and this season he's featured a lot more now. And he has just backed up everything I've said about him this season. Now, I know Bournemouth have been a bit hot and cold, as we know, but that's not Ryan Fraser, that's just Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Ryan Fraser, so here's a stat for you.
It's a good stat as well, I've just seen it.
Yeah. only Lionel Messi and Eden Hazard, 11 each, have registered more assists in Europe's Big Five leagues this season than Bournemouth's Ryan Fraser. He's joint level on 10 with Jadon Sancho and Joshua Kimmich.
That's some
incredible
elite company. Some elite company.
You've got Jadon Sancho, Borussia Dortmund, Joshua Kimmich, Bayern Munich, and then you've got Chelsea and Barcelona.
And Fraser's level.
Ryan Fraser of Bournemouth.
Oh, so he's one behind. Well, I mean, in fairness, to be one behind Messi, that's he's probably got work to do now, isn't he? He should be a bit ashamed of himself, really, Ryan Fraser.
Ryan Fraser is snapping at your heels, Lionel. What are you playing
That's
at?
Incredible. I did not know. Also, that other stat, which I'm seeing here as well, which if you want to read the above stat, that's a fucking incredible stat as well.
Well, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bournemouth's Ryan Fraser is the first Scottish player to register 10 assists in a Premier League season.
Wow.
Which is a good stat as well.
The first Scottish player to register 10 assists in a Premier League season. There's been some quality Scottish players over the years as well. Yeah. So for them to not get, that's bizarre. Yeah, there we are.
It's a good stat as well.
Yes, a very
Shout out
good
to Ryan
stat.
Fraser.
Whoever comes up with these stats, right, fair play to them.
It's Mr. Opta, isn't it?
Because I don't know
Mr.
who
and
it
Mrs.
is.
Opta.
But it's
Opta Joe.
Whoever
Opta
going
is.
on, like, bro, that's a fucking incredible stat.
But,
that is.
Shout out to Ryan Fraser, because I know he's probably watching. Because
he's a reg.
He's into that.
Shout out to him.
I give you praise earlier in the season. I backed you, and you backed me up,
bro. That you did. All right, cool. Cardiff, West Ham. Excellent win for Cardiff. West Ham's inconsistency. I backed them to be in the top 8. They better not fucking let me down. Ever since, and I hate to say it, right, because I'm a big fan of his. Ever since Jack Grealish came out to that West Ham side, they were significantly better. It seemed like they were trying. And that's not to be disrespectful to Jack, because he's a fucking wonderfully gifted football player. Yeah. But they almost tried to shoehorn him into the side, like a square peg in a round hole. And now they have that balance. They've got Declan Rice in there, and he's doing his thing, and the rest of the team, when they're on fire, they're on fire. But when they're bad, they're really bad as well. And on the weekend, Cardiff just pumped them. And Cardiff's main two creative outlets, the guys who could potentially save them, Hoylett and Camarasa, they're sort of the go-to guys. They're the supply line, but they're also the guys who could get you a couple of goals. And they acquitted themselves really well. Again, Cardiff, they're not going down without a fight.
They needed to win this game.
They really
did. At home, they're a little bit of a different animal. They've had 8 clean sheets this season.
That's pretty decent.
Which
almost a 1 in 4.
In the first 6 to 10 games, we wrote them off. We said, and I'll be honest and say it, I said before a ball was kicked this season, when they were promoted, they were relegated.
Everybody said. There's
and
very few people who didn't.
I said Neil Warnock was the reason as well.
I'm no fan of Warnock.
Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not a fan of him either, really. And that you could still say they could very much go down because they still sit in the relegation zone. But like you said, they aren't going down without a fight. 8 clean sheets, just to reiterate that. That's more clean sheets than United, who've had 7, and more clean sheets than Arsenal.
Yeah.
Who've had 5.
It's incredible.
It's not a bad stat.
It's not. And that was without Sol Bamba as well. Yeah. Who was a massive loss.
He's out for the season.
Yeah, he's out. He's out for a long time. Yeah. He's out for a long time.
But that's a bizarre stat, and I just want to draw some more attention to that. There's a side that's got 8 clean sheets, but they sit in the relegation zone. That doesn't normally happen.
It just goes to show that they're very well drilled. Like there was the whole stat about them and the what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Can't even remember. Do you know when I was referring to the amount of passes that they'd strung together and they were significantly lower than everyone else?
Yeah.
It just goes to show that basically they're very well drilled. They get behind the ball, they make life difficult for you. When they do get the ball, they sometimes struggle to know what to do with it. But as I say, they're just going to make life hard for you.
Yeah.
And that's about their one redeeming quality that might keep them up. So
I said earlier on in the season that they're one-dimensional in terms of the way they play.
Very.
I still stand by that, and I think you can tell that, like you said, they're well drilled. They're difficult to break down, especially at home. They've got a good structure defensively as well, and they're a set piece side. They're not going to rip you apart. With intricate passing football.
Not at all.
They've
Absolutely
got, like you say, Camarasa and Junior Hoylett.
Although I like Camarasa, he's a very good football player.
Obviously, Junior Hoylett, I've said before that he's got from time to time that match-winning ability in him, where he can score a goal out of nothing, he can create something out of nothing. But mainly their goals tend to come from second balls or corners, free kicks. crosses. And they know that. They seem to know that. And that's just, they play to their strengths. And the one thing you can say about them this season is that at least they're in with a shout.
Yeah, they're not going down. They're not just rolling over.
The last time they were up, I'm sure they were down by now, or close to.
I'm pretty sure you're right, actually. Yeah.
And you look at that Premier League table, there's
2 points off Burnley.
Cardiff City fans, just a question for you. If we told you at the start of the season that with 8 games left, you'd only be 2 points away from getting out of the relegation zone, how would you feel about that?
Cardiff fans,
would you take it? Don't think of it now. Think of it when you got promoted. Where did you think?
I think they take it 100%. Who wouldn't in that position?
You'd be in with a shout.
You got a puncher's chance.
I think they would have been overestimating their chances if they'd have thought that they were going to finish much higher than that.
I'd agree. Yeah, it's a fair shout. There's not a lot to say about the game other than it's a good win for Cardiff. West Ham show their inconsistency. The one West Ham issue that cropped up was the Hernandez dive. It was a really poor dive. We've been over it culturally. People like Hernandez, they're from a place where they will do whatever it takes to win, and they have no shame when it comes to things like that. To be honest with you, like I said before, it doesn't really bother me. To me now, it's just a part of the game. I don't particularly get on my pedestal and take the moral high ground and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z." It is what it is. Like I don't particularly care. Does it bother you in any way?
I was just about to say that it's quite sad that it's now got to a point that when players do dive, I kind of just let it fall by the wayside a little bit.
I'm the same. It doesn't bother me at all. I could care less.
When I watch Match of the Day, I probably have a little complaint or I would say a passing comment, but I don't take huge issue with it anymore because unfortunately it's something that's creeping into the game. I say creeping in, it is in the game, especially in the Premier League.
100%.
So there's nothing that me or you can do to change it. It's the culture that exists within the Premier League.
I don't think that culture's going anywhere.
No, and it's probably going to get worse.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. People consistently say, well, give out bans and do this, whatever.
We'll see what VAR does, If VAR might be able to control it.
Would they use VAR for I suppose if it's a penalty situation?
Yeah, for simulation, I think with VAR, if they can get a control on it, because that's the big question. We've said before, what are they going to use it for? Yeah. Is it going to be, cut and shut? Because some challenges are very, they're down to your individual perception and things like that. So it's interesting to see, how they use it, but it could potentially be curbed with, if you're caught to, on VAR review to be blatantly diving or there's completely no contact, maybe they could hand out bans, fines, things like that, which might care, but I think that might be the only way.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts, people, on the whole diving issue. It'd be interesting to get a general consensus from people and what they think on it. But we'll draw a line under that because there's not an awful lot to say. The final game, unless I'm missing some, I don't think I am. We've been through pretty much everybody else. Yeah. Is Palace and Brighton.
I've been waiting to talk about Brighton for so long.
You've been desperate to talk about Burnley for ages, haven't you? Yeah. So I didn't. Again, people fill me in on this, right? Because I try to go away and do my research. I got some information on my phone right now. Why this game is called a derby game?
I wondered that as well.
Because you have Brighton, who are right on the south coast, and then Palace, who are in South London. Yeah. And I don't really understand why that is. So I'm Googling it now, and it says, why is there such a rivalry? The two clubs aren't geographically close, 40 miles down the A23 to be exact, and they often haven't been in the same division for the last 40 years. The answer comes from 90 Minutes on December the 6th, 1976. Alan Mullery and Terry Venables had been teammates at Tottenham and landed their first jobs in management at the start of the 76-77 season at Brighton and Palace respectively. The two were drawn against each other in the FA Cup, and the first two games at Selhurst Park and the Goldstone Ground finished level. Chelsea Stamford Bridge was chosen as the venue for the second replay, with Palace booking their place in the next round. It was Mullery's reaction to two decisions by the referee, subsequently rechristened Chalice of the Palace by Brighton fans, which fueled their mutual hatred that exists to this day. That's deep as fuck. I don't think it's going to be that deep. So basically, this goes back to some FA Cup fixtures over the 76-77 season.
That's a bit salty, isn't it?
It's, I don't know, maybe build a bridge and get over it. I to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting that answer.
Halfway through you reading that, I just sort of went, really?
That's a little deeper than I expected, that they would still hold a grudge from a game in 1976. But each did their own, I guess. I mean, we're all built differently.
Was it a derby or a rivalry?
Just a rivalry.
It's just
now
a rivalry. It's not a derby, isn't it?
They call it like a derby, but it's not. It's just a rivalry.
Yeah, I'm sure Palace and Brighton fans might, believe in that a bit more than we do after reading that. I can't really see a huge deal for that to be such a rivalry.
To be honest with you.
But it is what it is. Apparently, that's the case.
There we are. I'm a bit flabbergasted, but each did their own. Knockout, great goal, should have been sent off.
Yeah.
In terms of the tackle itself, oh man, it was a ball cruncher. Was it on Milivojevic? Yeah, it was. And Milivojevic, how his ball sack didn't split in two, right? I'm not entirely sure, because he proper fucking just went. And even the replay. I've seen Aaron Ramsey break his leg. I've seen David Bust break his leg, and I've winced at them. But man, the ball sack is such a sensitive area. And I looked at that when it happened, and I was like, oh man, I feel his pain.
Squeamish.
It was, yeah. But the game itself didn't really say an awful lot.
After just 28 seconds as well. Talk about pumped up.
Oh yeah, look, that's another guy. I mean, quote unquote derby. He was too pumped up. Very lucky to stay on.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, would VAR change that, do you reckon?
Possibly, and I would also point out that with it being so early in the game,
referee bottled it.
The referee probably bottled it, yeah.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Probably thought, hang on, but we've barely got going, let's just calm down.
Yeah.
I'm just going to referee it this way. Is that a red card challenge? Possibly, but let's just calm down for a second and just you just allow that one to slide a little bit. But if that happens in the 50th, 60th minute, maybe later.
If that happens in the 13th or the 12th or 13th minute, I think the referee gives a red.
Yeah, but that winner from Anthony Knockaert, you can say, perhaps he shouldn't have been on the pitch.
Outstanding goal, wasn't it?
Get a postage stamp.
Yeah.
And stick that as close as you can to the end of that letter, because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, superb.
I love, and I mean, I absolutely love getting a posting in. That little in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't hit it any closer.
Bro, he's a very talented player, and they were saying that, he doesn't do it enough.
Yeah.
And you can see why, because he definitely has natural ability, and he's got a very sweet left foot. And I like those types of players.
But two goalkeepers in the goals, he wouldn't have got that one.
No.
And I'm quite happy for my boy
Mazzolino. Yes. Do you know the analysis they give of him very quickly on Match of the Day, and what he brings to that side in terms of his hold-up play, and by holding up the ball, he allows Brighton to be 10, 15 yards further up the pitch. It was excellent analysis, and it was really good, and you can definitely see the improvement in the side when he's in there. So yeah, shout out to him.
Great stat here about Glenn Murray.
Yeah.
He has scored 35% of Brighton's Premier League goals, 23 of 66, the highest proportion of any team's goals by a player in the history of the competition.
That's a fucking hell of a stat, that is.
I said to you early on in the season that which player carries the most importance to his team.
And you said Murray?
I said Glenn Murray.
You did, yeah.
That is a great stat.
That stat backs up that, or that's facts. That's written in stone. That
as it stands,
stat.
And you can get a few more. That's the highest proportion of any team's goals for a club in the history of the Premier League.
That's he's. I would go as far as to say irreplaceable. Because I mean, are you going to get another player that does that?
You got talk about irreplaceable players: Ronaldo, Messi,
Glenn Murray. I mean, look, he really is. That stat backs up. I mean, I can't. What do you say? I don't even know what to say.
I read that.
I
don't know
what to say. That's an it. We've had some belters on here tonight in terms of stats, but that's the one.
That rounds it off lovely.
That
as well.
is the one. I'm a bit gobsmacked. I don't actually know what to say next. In terms of the game itself, great win for Brighton. Palace, I mean, look, they'll be disappointed to lose the derby, but
they're your side, Palace, at the moment.
Bro, it's not the end of the world, is it?
They win, and you think, that's them safe, and then they lose, and then they win again. They'll win next week. I haven't even checked who they've got, but I'm just going to call it now. They'll win.
They probably will.
Can have a look now.
There's, as I said, there's not an awful lot to say about the game. I generally am struggling to think of anything to say for Palace, other than they were unlucky with the initial tackle. In the
Milivojevic again. This is 21st He scored 21 goals for Crystal Palace. Still scored more than any other Palace player. He loves a goal from the penalty spot. He doesn't score much others.
And I saw Wan-Bissaka didn't miss a tackle again in that game, by the way. So I think he had 8 out of 8 tackles. So he's continually improving. And like I said, very unlikely that he will be there next season.
I did just say that Crystal Palace will win their next game.
Yeah. Huddersfield. Oh, Christ.
Huddersfield at home.
And then
I'm sorry in advance, Crystal Palace fans, if you do want to lose that game.
We'll have our Crystal Palace segment next week. We're not doing a Huddersfield section, so don't get your hopes up. So that's pretty much it in terms of the games. Anything else you want to touch upon very quickly?
No, I mentioned you about the Jack Grealish situation, Zizou, and we covered those at the start, so I think that's about it.
Cool. All right. No, last week where I said there was FA Cup fixtures this week, I lied. That was fake news. It's actually this coming week. So there will be FA Cup fixtures and there is a round of Premier League fixtures. So we will be back next Monday. And then after that's the international break. But I'll do some type of 5-minute roundup. Or who knows, depending on time and schedules, we may do some international stuff. But we'll see how it goes. But you know the drill. Add us up on all the social media platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. You know the drill. I'm not going to bore you with it anymore. We will be back next time. Take care, people. Ciao.